So hello everyone, this is the channel about engines. Today we're going to take apart this engine. It's a bit outside the usual format of my channel, but still the engine has been removed from this kind of bus. The owner of this bus is a woman, and this bus is used for events, so inside it looks like this. The bus is from 2012, I think. The mileage is unknown, I don't know how much it's been driven, and it's also unknown whether it has been repaired before or not. So, what happened? Why was the engine removed? Well, gases started appearing in the cooling system. It began to throw out coolant. So we decided to remove the cylinder heads. Either the gasket blew or it didn't. This is our system, so this is what we have. ZMZ-513 engine modification ZMZ-511 differs in that it has extended connecting rods. They increased the stroke of the crank pin and also reduced the height of the piston, the compression height, and as a result the piston stroke is greater and the compression ratio is higher. And the problem with these engines is that the metal asbestos gasket constantly gets corroded. Anyone who's dealt with them knows it gets eaten away to dust because it's directly washed by the coolant. That's just how it is. These are just sleeves, and this is the block. There's no sealing between them, only a liquid gasket. So they obviously corrode and rot away. So it was decided to remove the two cylinder heads on the spot. We took off the heads and basically wanted to install them right away. Here are the removed heads already. They took them somewhere to a machine shop. I wasn't the one who did it. I wasn't the one working on this before. The engine just got to me now. So they took them somewhere to a machine shop. Apparently it was to a surface grinder, but this is aluminum. I don't know how it's processed on a surface grinder. I've never seen that before. We really wanted to put the cylinder heads back on already. There are our orders. The machine was supposed to be working, but still doubts appeared. We can see how much buildup there is in the engine. We can see it on the walls. We can see, yeah, there are clumps that look just like grease. This is low quality oil. Or maybe they just never changed it. I don't know why. So the decision was made to remove the engine, completely disassemble it, inspect for defects, and if possible, repair it with minimal costs. That means maybe even the old sleeves or the old piston will stay. Well, in general, I don't know. Let's not guess. We'll take it apart, check its condition, and then we'll draw our conclusions. So now I'm taking apart what's left here, removing the gearbox. We'll have to open up the gearbox too, just to check its condition. Maybe we'll need to get some new parts, maybe not. Well, yes, we'll get to the gearbox later. So we're removing the gearbox and taking the engine off the frame. This is our mount here. And there are also two mounts at the back, two supports. And we're taking it apart, removing the pulley from the pump here, the hub, the front cover. Next we remove the oil pan. Then we take out the pistons, take out the shafts, and check their condition for defects. I am Lozo, so Fragments 10. I probably haven't worked on these engines before, but I used to repair them often. There used to be a lot of Pavlovo factory buses in the fleet. Once I even had a video on my channel about disassembling a Pavlovo bus factory engine with 1,000,000 kilometers on it. Still lying around somewhere in my workshop, I think, over there somewhere. Maybe we'll take something from it. And maybe the crankshaft, I don't really know, let's not guess. We'll take it apart now and everything will be clear. So that's the scope of work we have. Let's get started. Right now I'm working on a 5-cylinder MAN engine. The block just came back from machining. The main bearing seats were checked and now the bolts are tightened to the working torque, which is 330 Newton meters plus a 90-degree turn. So I take my Kingtone 3/4 pneumatic impact wrench and try to unscrew it. As we can see, my impact wrench can't handle these bolts. I've always used the breaker bar socket and pipe at work, first breaking it loose with the breaker bar, then unscrewing it with the impact wrench. The impact wrench handled it easily. Let me say a few words about my purchase. This is a cordless impact wrench from the brand Board, this particular model. This particular model comes without a battery and without a charger, but the advantage is that this impact wrench is compatible with the Makita 18-volt battery system. The batteries are interchangeable. So this impact wrench has a brushless motor, the 2100 Newton meters of torque for loosening, 1680 Newton meters for tightening, and 4 speeds. The speed will determine the number of revolutions as well as the number of impacts per minute. There's also an automatic stop feature as well as automatic reverse slowdown. So when you switch to reverse for loosening, you can also switch between different modes. Here, for example, that means it breaks the nut loose and stops immediately. Then the next mode breaks the nut loose and stops after a split second. And then the third mode. Single Polish mode pad. CRD, CRD up to 20 minutes continuously. Or hold down the second button until the light blinks, and now it will only turn on when you press the button. Here, well, I want to say that 2100 Newton meters of torque is more than enough for loosening the wheels on trucks and SUVs. It's also suitable for CRD products, metal structures, trusses, bridges, and so on. There's a button on the battery. Press it to check the charge. We also have a bracket that gets screwed on here and a 17mm socket. So this impact wrench also has a brushless motor. Everything is the same as what I said about the larger impact wrench. I also have all the lighting modes, all the reverse modes, reverse slowdown, automatic settings, and so on. It's all in there. We also bought a separate charger for the batteries. Another important point is the weight of the tool. My impact wrench weighs just over 4.5 kilograms, 4,588 grams. Impact wrench weighs 3,750 grams. I removed the oil sensors which show us the pressure and the emergency one. And I'm also unscrewing this double fitting because it's made of cast iron. And if you put a little pressure on it, it often breaks. The thread here is tapered, so it's better to remove it so it doesn't break. So, did you take out the drive? Basically, everything here is fine, except for this carbon buildup. The hex is in good condition, and the gear is in good condition. I'll install it as the distributor instructs. When it's time to install, I'll set the distributor marks. Here, I don't remember which side it's on. The groove on the shaft is thicker, and it's kind of offset to one side. The shaft stays thicker on one side and thinner on the other. Basically, you have to set it either at the top or at the bottom somehow. I don't remember anymore since I haven't done it in a while. I'll set it by the distributor later. That's not a problem. Beautiful. Alright, let's take a look. The bearings are basically in working condition. No scoring. The wear is even, which is good to see. Let's take out the piston. Well, the piston, as I expected, we can see the skirts are all scored. So this piston definitely needs to be replaced. And we can also see that the rings are worn out. It's the same here too. Carbon deposits, especially on the oil control ring, have clogged it. Well, it turns out the 6-piston is one of the best, with the smallest scratches. Alright, next I'm unscrewing the cover with the seal packing. There are hidden nuts there for an 8mm hex key. Okay, so we can see the packing wasn't leaking. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe it was damp. Well, yeah, there's a little bit on the flywheel. But there wasn't any real oil leak. And we can see the tabs are already all worn out. But the packing itself is still more or less okay. Next, I'm opening the main bearing caps. Well, the main bearings, as usual on these engines, are in worse condition. So there's already some significant wear here, some minor scratches, and on the journal itself, well, basically just a little bit of wear, not much at all. It's possible everything will remain the same with standard bearings. Alright, next I'm taking out the timing gear. We have this Caprolon gear here. It definitely needs to be replaced. I didn't show it on camera, but there's already quite a bit of play here. So this is a common issue with these engines. Not really a defect, but sometimes it happens. The teeth shear off. So the crankshaft turns while the camshaft stops. So the gear definitely needs to be replaced. This is the eccentric for the fuel pump drive, and this is the counterweight. And visually checked the camshaft. It seems to be in good condition. Of course, we'll clean all of this up as well. Although I can see there are some defects on the camshaft, the lobe is worn out. Well, alright, in any case, we'll clean everything up and take a closer look. Well, as we remember, we should do minimal repairs, so most likely the camshaft will stay. This one. I'll remove the clutch basket right away. There should be 6 bolts here. We see 2, and right here there's 1 bolt. There's a thread here, but no bolt. It's not broken. The hole is clear and the thread is intact, just missing the bolt. Well, the clutch is basically in working condition. Let's say it's about a C grade. That is, there are already some irregularities, and it's almost worn down to those inspection grooves. There's also wear on the flywheel, and there's wear on the clutch cover as well. As for the clutch, I don't know. I'll have to check if there were any problems with the clutch or not. If not, then maybe we'll just leave everything as it is. So I took apart both cylinder heads right away. Don't think there will be any issues with the intake valves. The guides have almost no play, and the valves themselves are also in good working condition. So I'll clean and lap them in place. There's a little play in the exhaust valves too, but it's not critical. But overall, I don't know yet. I'll see what decision is made and let the customer know. And here we can see the working chamfer. It's covered in carbon deposits, but basically on these engines the chamfer always looks about like this. So regarding the cylinder heads, maybe everything will stay as it is. I'll just clean the valves, lap them in place, or on the exhaust valves I'll remove the working chamfer and then lap them. I'll replace the valve seals. Of course, I'll ream them and make a new working chamfer. Or, as an option, I'll replace the guide sleeves on the exhaust valves. That's it. The engine is disassembled. Now we'll summarize the results. So basically the engine is in pretty good condition, considering even the kind of oil it was running on. You can see the deposits, and it's also unclear how often it was changed. So even considering the poor quality oil, the engine is in really good condition. And I want to say that the engines they're making now, the 513S, in my opinion, are better than the 511S, the ones they made back in the 80s and 90s. So what do we need to do with this engine? I'm not sure how it will go, Ilam, because as I mentioned, the customer asked to do the bare minimum. So here's what ideally should be done with this engine. First, replace the camshaft bushings since they're already worn out. Second, the main and connecting rod bearings. Third, the piston assembly completely new. Because, well, we can see the scoring on the pistons, on the piston skirts. Alright, moving on. Ideally you should replace the flywheel, the clutch basket, the disc and the flywheel bearing. Obviously those need to be replaced, and ideally of course you should replace them. The camshaft, it's already starting to chip, I showed it, but most likely the camshaft will stay as it is. We'll only replace this gear. And as for the cylinder heads I just mentioned, either everything will stay as it is, or we'll replace the exhaust guide bushings and possibly the exhaust valves as well. There's also the issue of replacing the oil pump, but the bearings suggest there's oil pressure. Well, I don't know. As an option, I'll take it apart too and check inside, look at the gears, the walls, see if there's any wear or scoring. Well, yeah. A new pump costs 6,000 rubles. Of course, that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but again, it's all relative. Well, and as for a new piston assembly for this engine costs about 30,000 rubles, which also doesn't seem like a lot of money. If you compare it, let's say, with Mercedes MN or Volvo, there maybe a single piston kit can cost up to 60,000. There have been such cases. Well, the average price is 25,000 to 30 to 35,000 for one kit. So over there one kit costs 30,000, while here 8 piston kits cost 30,000. So that's it for the engine. Now I'll also take apart the gearbox. Probably everything will be in this video. I'm removing the block from the table and starting to disassemble the gearbox. So we can see here's the problem. The bearing has eaten away the rear cover. When I drained the oil, there was a lot of metal shavings, as you can see. The bearing is coming out here, and the spot where it rests has been worn down very deeply. I don't know, well, as an option you could put a different cover here, but the bearings need to be new. But here under the bearing, or rather, well, behind the bearing there's something like an oil deflector. It's the first time I've seen something like this. Why is it even needed here? Is it supposed to be here? I don't think it's supposed to be here. In all the gearboxes I've worked on, I've never seen them. Yeah, someone really messed things up here. It's strange. I've never seen this before. Comment below. Is this washer meant to be here?